can't laugh it off.
Who's the daddy? What I actually think she's trying to say.
Making the same old excuses.
Boys will be boys.
Boys will be boys. Boys will be boys.
But something finally changed.
A new ad from Gillette urging men to take a more active role in fighting toxic masculinity. Now, the ad was the top trending topic on Twitter worldwide on Tuesday, but there has been mixed reaction to the campaign. Supporters of the video strongly approve of the messaging behind it, but there's also talk of a boycott of Gillette products. So is Gillette forging any new ground here by taking a stand, or was this purely about the company's bottom line? For more on this topic, I'm joined now by Sam Fiorella, and he's an author and professor of social media marketing at Seneca College, and Ann Kingston is a columnist with Maclean's magazine. Hello to both of you, Sam and Ann. Thank you for joining us today. Okay, so we'll start with you, Sam.
Sure.
The ad itself, it was trending worldwide on Twitter on Tuesday. How effective is this ad?
Well, we're here talking about it. So just on that front alone, from a PR value, it was very effective. They were trying to make news with it. You can question the altruism of the marketers behind it, but it did its job in terms of raising the awareness of this brand, especially in comparison to the competition, like Dollar Shave Club, which has really taken a chunk out of its market share.
So we are talking about it, certainly, and this was also, Anne, a topic of your column in Maclean's magazine.
Right.
You talked about it, and you were suggesting that perhaps the company could have gone farther with their message, or perhaps in a different direction. Maybe bring our viewers up to speed on that.
Sure. What the point I made about the ad was that if Gillette, a razor company that markets its product using very stereotypical, almost cartoonish sort of gender roles, wanted to do something to address gender inequity, which was the purported reason for this commercial, it could begin at home. In other words, it could rethink how it's marketing, its brands to men and women, sort of the masculine versus the stereotypically feminine Venus razor, and the pricing discrepancy between its brands. Notably, the women's branded products are more expensive than the men's branded products. So if we're going to really talk about gender inequity, a company that's predominantly run by men, I'm talking about Procter & Gamble here, Gillette's parent, could be doing its own work at home before it starts lecturing men about their responsibility.
Certainly, though, this was a discussion in homes, to your point about how effective this ad may have been, even though, to your point also, Anne, perhaps it didn't address inequality in a way that was satisfactory to some of the people on either side of the debate. But let's also talk about the risk in an approach like this. We certainly saw it, for example, with Nike. There were people burning their shoes when we saw Nike taking sort of a politically active point of view in one of their recent ads. So what do you think about the risks associated with this sort of marketing?
Yeah, it's definitely a calculated risk. There's no question about that, but brands today have to. When you take a look at the demographic of who they're targeting, younger audiences, millennial audiences, which is the largest cohort and is going to control the majority of the dollars by 2020, they will support and value a brand whose purpose aligns with their own. Brands that don't take, or at least don't communicate what that purpose is, are rated much lower on the scale, and they frequent them less. And so brands need to take that calculated risk. Now, there's ways to do it right, ways to do it wrong. Like if you take a look at what Pepsi did, with the Black Lives Matter, that failed miserably, the Nike, which did work. You have to know how to do it, but you can't today put yourself on the sidelines. To use the sports analogy, you have to get yourself in the game.
Do you agree, Anne? Do you think you have to get in the game here?
I think that people, the Nike example is an excellent one, people burning their shoes, which is, of course, an extreme, and I would imagine sort of a limited response to the Copernic ad. But I do think that, yes, people obviously buy products that they feel will make them better people, or who they associate with in terms of being proud of associating with the brand. So I think in this regard, and in terms of the Gillette ad, I think it's interesting, you have to ask, was it trying to appeal to men or to women. That's something that's part of the conversation. The other, and there are unintentional risks that go along with these ads, one of them being the fact that we are talking about razors more generally. We're talking about Harry's razors, we're talking about the whole razor market, and the fact that Gillette is struggling right now to figure out how to retain an identity in a marketplace where gender is becoming increasingly fluid. And to go back to my sort of earlier point, this idea of masculinity and femininity is something that marketers have to figure out how they're going to address.
And to the point of whether or not they're targeting the actual user of these products or the buyer of these products, you know, some of the research shows that certainly women are the ones who are going out and buying more of the products, even for their partners or their sons, what have you. So was this perhaps the motivation behind it targeting women itself with this movement?
Yeah, and that's part of the calculated risk that we were talking about earlier. It's over 60% of women buy razors because, as you said, they're buying them for their husbands, for their boyfriends, for their children. But it's also the younger audience that they're looking at. So from a marketer's perspective, what they're looking at is who is the audience 10 years from now, and are we building a relationship with them, and who is the audience today, which is predominantly women. And when you're looking at my own company's survey of people who love this ad and hate this ad, the majority of women surveyed love the ad because we're taking a stand.
And, you know, we're talking about what the company's motivation was, but they also did issue a statement, and we're hearing from them that controversy wasn't the intended goal, although one can argue that any publicity is good publicity. But this is part of their statement, saying our ultimate aim is to groom the next generation of men, and if any of this helps even in a little way, we'll consider that a success. So, Anne, what do you make of their response there? Do you buy it?
Well, I would disagree. We're talking about Procter & Gamble, one of the biggest consumer goods companies in the world. They have a fleet of people advising them on market response, market reaction, and so forth. And I think this idea that if you use the term toxic masculinity in an ad, it is going to be a flashpoint. And there's no question in my mind that they anticipated the kind of viral response that they got, because outrage is the currency of social media. This Me Too, associating it with Me Too, I didn't think the ad itself was very controversial or came and said anything new or daring. But within the social media kind of sphere, it was destined to detonate this way.
And it's interesting because you both have raised how men and women have responded differently to this, and even within both of those genders, certainly people have responded differently. So, you know, I want to ask you first, Sam, a lot of men felt that they were attacked watching this ad. You agree with that response? What do you think?
Well, I agree that a lot of men felt attacked. As a male, no, I did not feel attacked. I was actually thankful that the brand stands up for it. I don't question the fact that they're trying to make money with this ad, and I don't blame them. They're a business. We need these businesses. We get paid by businesses. We have to try and sell. If a business could also use that platform to try and improve society, to try and promote the current, societal, mores, then great. I'm all for it. So no, I didn't feel attacked by it at all as a male. As a marketer, I have some questions about the effectiveness of the ad. Could it have been done better? Yes. But at least they're taking a stand, which I appreciate.
And in terms of the people who feel attacked, there have been some pieces that have been written suggesting that typically women are used to being, perhaps called out, or ads that say this is a way that you can improve in society. But men typically don't face that. There are some opinion pieces on that. Do you think that that's what led to men feeling somewhat attacked in this round?
I think it's complicated, but I think certainly the way, and again, this goes to a gender divide that's quite profound, and we should be looking at that as well as sort of the razor issue. But in terms of whether men feel sort of attacked, it is a distinct way of going at the male market, saying you can be better. Whereas most products sold to women are about you can be better, you can be thinner, you can be younger looking, you can be more efficient with your time, so you can balance your life. So women are used to it. They've internalized this kind of message, and I think it's a sort of a female way of selling a product
it's funny
to a
that
man.
Men don't like to be mansplained to.
Oh, that's exactly a line from my
Interesting
column.
observations.
No, exactly. Exactly. That's what happened here, and we're seeing the response. So, yeah, less mansplaining and more action is probably a good way to go.
And that is unfortunately all the time we have for this discussion, but I thank you both, Sam and Anne, for your thoughts on this. We know, of course, that our viewers all had a lot of thoughts on it too. So again, Sam Fiorella is an author and professor of social media marketing at Seneca College, and Anne Kingston is a columnist and senior writer with Maclean's magazine. Again, thank you to you both.
Thank you.